Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I hope that you are all good. So in today's video we're going to be doing this layered lemon leafy design, and I've included all of the stamping in real time, so hopefully we can talk through all of the stamping and I can share some tips and tricks if you have been struggling. But let's jump into the nails. So I'm going to be using my Kiki London gel polishes for the bases of this design. So I have Ivy Forest, which is this gorgeous green, and then I have a coconut. Now the start of this video, the lighting is a little bit off. It's just for the first coat of the gel polish. I think I'd hit something on my camera when I pressed record and it seems to just look a little bit too bluey. So once you get to the second coat of colour, the colour is a little bit more realistic to what the gel polish colours looks like, because this green is it's like a really dark foresty green, but here it has that bluey tinge to it, which it doesn't actually have in real life. But anyway, I'm painting on that first coat of colour. With my Kiki London gel polishes, I always work with nice thin coats. I apply quite a thin first coat and then an ever so slightly thicker second coat, and I find this gives me a really good coverage. Look how gorgeous this green is though. I absolutely love it and I haven't got to use it much. It's so highly pigmented. It's such a beautiful colour. So I wanted to include it. It's not a very spring summery set, but I felt as though the lemons gave it a bit of a summery vibe. So I wanted to make sure I got this green in somewhere. So as you can see here now, the colour is corrected. You can see it's more true to the green. I just had to play around because I really hate it sometimes on camera with whatever, whether it be gel polish or acrylic. It shows up differently to what it does in real life, and you start playing around with the settings to get one colour to look right and then another colour will look a bit different. And I try to do my best to show you guys what they actually look like, but it's going to differ, and it can sometimes even differ depending on what you're watching on. So anyway, we're coming in and we're applying that second coat of colour. Now the Kiki London Coconut is my absolute favourite white gel polish. It's so highly pigmented and it's so easy to work with. A lot of the time, especially for nail art, I find that I only ever need one coat of colour. But here I have done two coats, so we've got a nice base to work on. Now for the lemons, we are using water decals. So these are from Miss Lucy UK. I do have a discount code which gets you 10% off the Miss Lucy water decals and stamping plates. We are also going to be using her stamping plate in today's video, so do check the description box below for that. Now for my water decals, I lately always seem to prefer to applying them with the clear jelly stamper method. So I've popped my water decal down on my jelly stamper, dampened the back of it and waited for around 10-20 seconds, and then that backing paper slides off and you're able to just stamp that water decal down. And I feel doing it this way, one, it's really easy because like with stamping, you're able to look through your stamper and place that image exactly where you want it on the nail. But I do also find it really helps get out a lot of the bubbles and the creases in the decal. This particular decal was quite a large one and it's going over the curve of the apex area, so it did still have one or two little creases in it, but I just got them out using my silicone tool. So now we're going to pop down one of those lemons. I wanted to do two decals on each nail because I wanted there to be that pop of nail art underneath the stamping. As you probably know if you've watched my previous videos, I absolutely love layering up nail art. So I wanted to make sure that the nail still had a fair bit of water decal, a fair bit of image down before we come in and apply our stamping. So again, exactly the same as before, just getting out all of those creases. And one of the things I love about these water decals from Miss Lucy is any that have colour, so like these lemon ones here, the colour is so highly pigmented, especially if you're popping them down over a white base, it really does pop. Now, I'm really sorry if you can hear any noise in the background. My next door neighbour has just decided to start doing some DIY. So it's a lovely Saturday morning, it's lovely and sunny, so I presume lots of people are going to be doing all their projects, but I'm really hoping that you're not picking up too much of the noise in the background. Now we're just coming in and applying our last decal. So again, when you are working with decals over the curve of the apex area, you do get those creases, but just spend a little bit of time edging them out with your silicone tool. Then before we stamp over these nails, because we're going to be doing stamping on all of the nails, but on these two, I want to make sure that I've got a nice, super smooth surface to stamp on top of. And sometimes you can't always achieve that when you are working with water decals. So I always find it, rather than stamping directly over my decals, I like to seal them in with a layer of rubber top coat. So I'm using my Kiki London No Wipe rubber top coat. The rubber top coat is slightly thicker than a regular top coat, so it just always gives you a super smooth finish. So I'm just going to apply a thin layer of this and cure it for 60 seconds. Now we are ready to jump on to the stamping. So I thought I'd show you everything you're going to need. So you're going to need a good quality stamping plate and then a stamper. Now for your stamper, I personally prefer a clear jelly stamper or any kind of jelly style stamper. And then you're going to need some stamping polishes. So today I'm using the CJS stamping polishes. I'd also love to have a lint roller to clean up any image that I pick up. And you are also going to need the scraper. Usually these come with your stamper. Now also you are going to need some acetone and something to clean off your plate with. So for today's video I'm going to be using acetone and just some kitchen roll to clean off my stamping plate. Now I'm going to talk through as much as I can and explain how I stamp and what I have found the easiest way to stamp. First of all, you can see I've picked up my first image. I love the Miss Lucy stamping plates because the images are etched nice and deeply. So I find that 99% of the time I pick up the images with absolutely no problems. I've played around, I've tried them with different stamping polishes. I've got my preferred ones are the clear jelly stampers or my Born Pretty stamping polishes. I find they work they've worked well. They work the best out of all the stamping polishes I have personally tried. I've not tried loads of different brands because I'm happy with those two at the moment. Now I've done my first image, so I'm going to clean up my plate. This is really, really important. Your stamping polish is highly pigmented and it dries really, really quickly. So it dries into those images. And then if you go to pick up an image that has got dried stamping polish in it, you're not going to get a clean pickup. So always make sure after every image, you're giving your plate a good clean, especially over an image that you're going to pick up next. So I've made sure to give that a really good clean with my acetone. So now we're going to pick up our second image. So when I'm picking up my images, I'm picking them up and I'm going to use a generous amount of stamping polish. So as you see, I've covered that entire image with my stamping polish. I'm going to give it a scrape. Sometimes I'll do 1 or 2 scrapes. It does depend on how I think it looks. If it's scraped off enough of that excess stamping polish, then I'll just do the 1 scrape. Then I'm going to use my lint roller, and it's just because the lint roller is sticky, it's going to pick up any image that you don't want to stamp down on the nail. So sometimes when you pick up your image, you might pick up a little bit of another image, or you might be picking up a large image and you only want to use a little bit of it. So you can clean up using a lint roller any image that you don't want. I have also seen people, instead of using a lint roller, they use their nail. So stamping down onto your own nail, you can clean off any image that you don't want to transfer. I personally always have gloves on, so this doesn't work for me. So that's why I always have my trusty lint roller to hand. They are really cheap to pick up as well, so I find it a really cheap way to do this step. Again, cleaning up that plate with some acetone, making sure you've got a generous amount of acetone on there so you can really give it a good scrub. Don't worry if it looks smeary, you can clean that off, but it's not necessary. So then on to our next image, we're going to repeat that process, generous amount of stamping polish. I like to cover the entire image, scrape, and then I like to roll my stamper across the image. So I usually roll towards me, like naturally I seem to roll towards me, but it doesn't really matter what direction, but you just want to make sure you are doing a really quick but gentle roll. So I don't apply too much pressure. It is just more like a quick flick of the wrist over that plate and it picks up absolutely beautifully. I have used a couple of different jelly style stampers and I have found that they all work pretty well if you're using this motion with them. But before using the clear jelly stampers, either I have the Born Pretty one or the actual original CJS one. But before using them, I used like the marshmallow style stampers and the ones where they've got like a harder pink top. And I always found them so hard to pick up. Sometimes images would pick up good, sometimes they wouldn't. But since switching to a jelly style stamper, I have found that 99% of the time the images pick up really, really easily and 99% of the time perfectly as well. So that's why I've stuck to using a jelly style stamper. Now another thing that I like to do is once I've finished all of the stamping on one nail, before moving on to the next nail, I like to give everything a really good clean. So even though I've been cleaning my stamping plate between each images, I like to just go over and give the whole entire plate a little rub with the acetone. I'll also take my lint roller and clean off my stamper as well, just in case there's any bits of images on there that haven't transferred. And then I take my scraper as well and give that a wipe, because when you're scraping off your stamping polish, that ends up building up on your scraper. So I like to just either every now or every couple of images give my scraper a really good clean as well, because this also helps you get a nice clean scrape. If you end up with too much stamping polish built up on your scraper, it won't work as effectively, so it won't be giving you a nice, a good clean scrape, and then you might start noticing that you've got excess stamping polish down, and then you're not getting that nice clean image pickup. So as you see there, I dropped my stamping polish, so I just quickly paused the video, had a little tidy up and restarted it. Little things like that are always going to happen. I left it in because I completely forgot to edit it out. Another thing with stamping as well, you do have to work quite quickly. So when you have to work quite quickly, it can feel a little bit pressured, especially when I'm stamping on camera as well, because I feel like I don't want to make loads of mistakes. But a thing that I have found that makes it a little bit easier is keeping everything really close by. So keeping everything that you need for stamping to hand. So that's why whenever I am doing any stamping, whether it be for a video or just doing my own nails, I get everything that I need out and leave it all quite close to me on my desk, which does make it a little bit easier for knocking over, but I just find it easier for when you've got to be quick with stamping, you've got everything to hand. Now, when they say you've got to be quite quick with stamping, I find the only step that you have to be quite quick with is getting the image off the stamping plate. So you want to apply your stamping polish quite quickly. You don't want to be brushing it on for a long time, because it starts drying as soon as you start applying it. But you want to be quick with your scraping and quick with picking up your stamper and picking up that image. If you're leaving that stamping polish down on the stamping plate, and say you're faffing around looking for your stamper, or you're cleaning up your stamper or something like that, that paint in your plate is going to start drying, and then it's not going to pick up. If it dries too much on your stamping plate, it just does not pick up on your roller. So that's why, again, any cleanup I like to do before I apply my stamping polish for that next image, and then also just make sure everything's to hand so you can be nice and quick. And the more you do it, literally the more you stamp, the quicker you naturally become. And I find as well, having a routine and following that same routine for stamping just makes you build up speed. So I hope that I've shared lots of tips and tricks and they do help you. If you do have any questions, do pop them in the comments below. Another thing that I wanted to mention is stamping polish wise, I think most of them I've tried I've been happy with. I've had a few cheap unbranded kind of ones that I've just not bothered with, say from places like AliExpress, which haven't been that great. But the Born Pretty ones I've used are a great budget friendly stamping polish. The clear jelly stamper ones are a little bit more expensive, but they are at slightly better quality, and also you get a bigger colour selection. I feel with clear jelly stamper, they have a huge selection of stamping polishes. I think I've only got one, but I have also got a Moyu one as well, and that's really good too. So it is important to have a good quality stamping polish. I get lots of questions from people asking me, can you use regular polish? And the truth is when I first started stamping, I had a huge collection of regular polish, but it was really hit and miss with what ones would work. So I'd find some colours in some brands would work, but then that same brand but a different colour wouldn't work. So I personally found it easier to just completely switch to stamping polish. I don't think you need lots of colours to start off with. I'd say the staples are a black, white, silver and a gold. Of course, it's also nice to have some greens and some pretty colours, but I kind of have been building up my collection through the seasons. So I bought a few summery colours as we come into summer and things like that, and that helped build up my collection. Now the same goes for the quality of your stamping plates. When you are looking at stamping plates, you want ones where the images are etched nice and deeply into the plate, because that's going to give you a nice clean pickup. So as you can see here with the Miss Lucy plate, all of the images that I've used, I've tried out every image on the plate, this plate especially, they are all etched nice and deeply, so you get a nice clean pickup. Some cheaper or unbranded plates, you'll even notice from the images, the plates themselves look really thin, and you can kind of just see that the images are only then etched thinly into the metal plate, if that makes sense. So if you are able to go for a really good sturdy looking plate with those deeper images etched into there, because it's just going to make stamping a lot easier, and it's going to save you money in the long run compared to buying cheaper quality plates where the images just aren't going to pick up as well for you. So once we have finished all of the stamping, we need to come in and seal the stamping in. So I'm going to use my Kiki London top coat for this. This top coat does require cleaning off the tacky layer, but I prefer this top coat especially over stamping because it doesn't separate at all. Sometimes with certain no wipe top coats I find they can separate over the nail, but with this one I get absolutely no separation, so it's my favourite top coat for over stamping. And then that, guys, is the end of the video. I hope I jam-packed it with lots of stamping tips, so I really hope it helped. But like I said, if you do have any questions, pop them below and I'll be happy to help. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely weekend. Lots of love. Take care. Bye bye.